Hey YouTube fam, welcome back to another episode. Today, I completed a run. 7 Super Bowl tickets, 4 up there, 3 behind me there. All 7, I'm going to show you my latest pickup. It was the actual last Super Bowl, ironically, that Tom Brady won. I didn't plan for my last one to be his last one. It just happened to work out that way. But this is number 7, where he went up against Patrick Mahomes in 2021. Let's take a look. All right, guys. So I've removed it from there. This is it. This is red. Bucks, Chiefs could represent either team. I like the red ones specifically because if you look at some of the ones behind me, I have a lot of different colors, the blues, the yellows, but I didn't have red. There is a blue version of this. This was a retail price of $2,900 this person paid. They kept it in great shape. My theory is a lot of people probably used their QR code on their phones to access the game and they kept some of the tickets. Maybe they had the intention of getting it graded. Either way, it is a 9. And when you look at this, you think, it's like, okay, Lombardi, there's the confetti. And I started looking at it, and on the confetti, there was a lot of little written kind of like scriptures, and they were all slightly different, but I don't know if you'll be able to catch it on there. But if you look closely, all of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have some type of writing on them. So to me, let's talk a little bit about the significance of this. I don't think the significance of this is coming into play as much right now. A couple thoughts. First, it was COVID year, so they only had 20,000 attendance. If I'm not mistaken, there was about 20,000 that were able to go. When in reality, most Super Bowls probably have over 50,000. So therefore, there's probably not as many tickets on this. I haven't looked into the pop reports on this. But there are some 10s. They're a lot more expensive, and I didn't want to pay for the price for a 10. I got a pretty good deal on a 9 compared to what the market recent sales are. I think it was around $200. So the seller has a lot. His 10s were about 1,000. But I was happy with the 9. It looks good. To me, it's about completing the run, all 7 Super Bowls, and they're up there on the top shelf. Now, the significance of this really is going to come into play in probably like 10 years, guys. We're going to be looking back and we're going to be saying the number 1 all-time quarterback, Tom Brady, versus the number 2 all-time. I do think he wins one more, he's going to pass Montana. I don't know when he's going to win one more, but I have a feeling at some point he probably will. Reality is, Mahomes probably could get to 4, maybe even 5. And that's just, just a thought. He may never win another, who knows, right? But if Mahomes does win one more, he gets to 4, I put him ahead of Montana just because of his accolades. So 10 years from now, we may be saying there was a time the greatest all-time played number 2. And when I look at it that way, I think it'll have a lot more importance, this ticket. It's still, 2021? It's only 4 years ago. So it's not really like, you know what I mean? It doesn't seem to set in yet. Now, if you're a Mahomes fan, this is also going to be a big ticket. Although he lost the Super Bowl, if you're collecting Mahomes stuff, you may be like, wow, that's the Brady most Mahomes Super Bowl, which has a great amount of appeal to a lot of people, not just Brady collectors like myself. But I think overall, it's one that I was like, okay, I want to get. And the price was right, and I finally found one, and I'm like, let me just get it. Because sometimes, there's not very many for sale right now on eBay that are, like, decent. My favorite Tom Brady ticket is still the one behind me. That's the all-time greatest comeback. The all-time greatest comeback in sports history in a Super Bowl. Realistically, guys, it may very well be all sports to win it all. Like, this could be the game. Like, this 28-3 magical run, this is incredible. Not only because you're like, okay, you own the ticket, but it's just the history behind the ticket. It makes it really special, in my opinion. every time I think of this ticket, I think of that game, and it brings me back exactly mentally. Like, I remember at my uncle's house watching that game thinking, this game's over with, 28-3. And then at one point, I remember, like, if you were a Falcons fan, I'm thinking towards the end of the game, or once the game ended, I'm like, you just want to go jump off a bridge, or, you know what I mean? Your mindset's just like, I can't believe we just lost that game. And at that time, I wasn't like the biggest Brady fan, and I was actually rooting for the Falcons because, you know, Brady was just so dang good, and that's when you know, and I'm not a Patriot fan, but I started rooting for Brady at the end of his career, and I actually rooted for him in that Super Bowl, and even the Super Bowl against Goff and the Rams. I'm a Cowboy fan, ride or die, always will be, but I have a big desire to collect a lot of Tom Brady stuff. So, and if you're new here, I collect all types of Brady stuff, primarily rookies, starting to get in the game used, Super Bowl tickets. Kind of got hooked last year and a half, maybe 2 years. I'll have to see when I did my first video, guys. But as you can see behind me, the rookies have really been growing. And now all seven Super Bowl tickets. So this one, obviously, is probably my favorite. It's the most expensive in the bunch. I didn't pay nearly that much because I dealt with a local guy who sold me tickets in the past, and he knew I'm a collector, so he hooked it up. So shout out to him. Let's take a look at one more. All right, guys. So we're gonna go to the 2019 Super Bowl. I remember watching this one. I was at my grandparents' house this one, and at this time I was rooting for the Patriots, but I was rooting for Brady, and I was also really rooting for an under. I remember I had a bet. And I even took this prop bet, like it was the craziest payout. Will somebody not score a touchdown? And I was so close to hitting it, and it was like a crazy, like 100 plus to 1. But they ended up getting one last late touchdown, I believe, from what I remember. And the score was 13-3. Patriots won, but the under was way under. It was the right side. And, you know, Super Bowls, that's what they do. They bring people together. You get a lot of people wanting to bet and gamble and then just watch and entertainment and have a good time. So this one was one I recently picked up for like $70, it says. But I got a couple other tickets that are not related to the Super Bowl with it. So the price point was really, really affordable on this one, because it, when I bought the other two, I think they were all, I may have paid $70 on each ticket. But for me, it was just about trying to get this ticket, and the other ones were perks. I don't even remember. Oh, you know what? One of the tickets was his third career reception. It was like his last reception. I think he went out for a pass and he caught it, but that ticket's over there. But we're going to stick to the Super Bowl, guys, and I just want to give you guys a quick little update. This is another one where I look at this ticket and I knew exactly where it was. The only two Super Bowl tickets I don't really remember were his very first ones. I don't remember. They're up there behind me, but I don't necessarily remember exactly where it was at. But I remember the Eli Manning losses. I remember out of the 10 appearances, I probably really remember close to 8. So, but it is cool, and it brings you back in time. And that's the beauty about collecting. Sometimes you look at something, who'd you buy it with? Where were you at? Right? How much did you pay for it? All these different factors come into play, and it's just like it could be a flood of memories. If it was with somebody who's no longer with us, if it's with somebody that you really kind of, at that particular time, maybe you were dating. There's just so many different things. And then sometimes gifts. People buy you something and you always look at it and you remember it. And it's like, yeah, so-and-so got me that. And now it's like 5 years ago. Well, now it's 20 years ago. When I was a kid at 13, I still have stuff that my grandparents got me. And my grandma passed in March. But it's just like there'll always be that memory for me. And that's kind of the beauty of collecting. And I think that's why we collect. I remember recently, not the Kansas City one, but I remember meeting this guy off OfferUp, buying 4 tickets from him. I met him twice, and he gave me a great price. And it was just like, you'll remember who you did the deal with, the trade. And it's the beauty of collecting, and that's why I think as collectors, there's more to it sometimes. And recently I was in LA and I did a trip, and I document some of the stuff. Sometimes I have some fun with it. It's a hobby. But, you look back on times and you're like, oh, I was with my buddies and we went here and I remember that, and that was a good time. So anyways, I'm rambling. But yeah, guys, so I got all 7 Super Bowl tickets. This is the last one I'll share with you. If you are interested in the tickets, they are behind me, but feel free to go look at some of my other videos. I believe I've posted every single ticket at least once, every time I've gotten one. But this is all 7. So I'm pumped. But if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, guys, hit the like button. Comment below. Let me know, out of all 7 Super Bowl tickets, which one's your favorite. And most importantly, be safe. Talk soon.